Happy Monday, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Drive for Life. I'm your host, Brian Martindale, and today we are with Mindi Piasecki. Am I pronouncing that right, Mindi? Piasecki. Okay. I wanted to correct myself there. And Mindi is joining us from Milwaukee, Wisconsin today, and this is an interview for her 4-year-old son, Isaac. Mindi, thank you, first of all, for joining us.
Thank you.
And first of all, let's learn about Isaac here today. Isaac, we know, is 4-year-olds to start. So let's talk about, first of all, Isaac's history from birth.
He was our third adoption. We have 5 adopted children, and we adopted all of our children at birth. We got the phone call that there was a little boy with Down syndrome about to be born in Dallas. So my husband and I and 2 of my children drove to Dallas. And when we got to the hospital, the room filled with doctors, and we had no idea what was going on. But Isaac had a stage 4. Actually, I think he's been moved up to stage 5. Kidney failure, and nobody had told us about that
Okay.
on our trip. So it didn't change our minds on anything, but it would have been nice to know ahead of time.
Sure, for planning at least, yes.
Yeah. So he had a PD calf put in, and he was put on dialysis for 3 weeks in Dallas. He had a vesicostomy put in Dallas.
Okay.
And I fought tooth and nail with our insurance company and was finally able to get him life flighted from Dallas to our big children's hospital here in Milwaukee.
Okay.
So he was flown in on February 23rd.
And that was 4 years ago now.
Yeah.
And
ironically, he was actually readmitted to the hospital here on February 23rd. He's been in the hospital twice this year so far.
Oh. So currently we are searching for a living kidney donor for Isaac. Right now he is, you said, in treatment in Milwaukee in the hospital.
Yes, he was just extubated. He has had pneumonia. He has chronic lung disease as well. So this is the 3rd time he's been intubated at Children's Hospital as well.
Wow. And along with Isaac, you have 4 other children that also have special needs in this case, correct?
Yes. We have our daughter Tess is 10. She has charged syndrome. We also adopted her from San Antonio, Texas. She is deaf and had a thymus transplant in North Carolina. She and I had to go live in North Carolina for 5 months. She has a feeding tube. She has cardiac issues, and she wasn't supposed to live to be a year old. And she's almost 11 and sassy and in school and has a little boyfriend at this point. And she's doing amazing. Our 8-year-old son is neurotypical. He was born in Michigan, actually.
Okay.
Our 6-year-old daughter was born in Dallas as well, and she has Down syndrome. When we went to Dallas, we were told that she probably had absence of the corpus callosum, where the 2 sides of her brain weren't going to meet, so she could possibly be a vegetable the rest of her life. And we take a lot of leap of faith because, you know, if I had these children biologically, it wouldn't have made any difference what their medical needs were. So,
right.
Turns out she does not have that. She is a feisty little 6-year-old, full Hispanic little baby girl who climbs on ceilings. She's insanely busy all the time.
Oh.
And then we have Isaac, who's 4, and he was adopted from Dallas.
Okay.
And we last year got a phone call from the agency that did our final home study, asking us. She said, "Let me run a situation by you." Apparently, they had asked over 50 families to adopt this little boy, and everyone said no. And we went to meet him, and we said yes. His name is Levon. His birth family actually named him Levi, so it was kind of serendipity because we had always thought we would name our final boy child Levon after the Elton John song.
I love that song. Yes.
Yeah, it's a perfect song for him. And he has a trach. He was in the hospital for 5 months. We finalized his adoption at the hospital. We actually finalized Isaac's adoption at the hospital on the same day that he was intubated for the first time.
Okay.
He had RSV, and they weren't sure if he was going to live. So the judge in Texas got on the phone and decided he would finalize our adoption on that day because they weren't sure if he was going to live. Oh. So he had parents when he was intubated on April 7th, and he was extubated 2 weeks later on my birthday, April 21st. So,
wow.
All my kids have great stories.
I mean, just God bless you for everything you've taken on with all of your children, you know, and then to go through this, you know, now with Isaac in the hospital. And then you mentioned too, you have one of your other children has an immediate challenge as well.
Our 1-year-old son has a trach, and he's not breathing very well today. So we're trying to decide whether we give him another treatment, change his trach out again, or just bring him to the hospital, in which case we have a local hospital here that's 3 miles from our house, but there are only 2 trach vent teams in Wisconsin. Okay. And they are in Milwaukee or Madison. Okay. So if we end up bringing him to the hospital, he'll be transported to Milwaukee, to the same floor actually that Isaac is on right now. So, all right. They've been on the same floor 3 times so far.
And Isaac is currently going through all of his tests as far as being listed per se, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they are getting him ready to test every part of his body, apparently.
Yep. Yeah, I know all the testing is very complete, obviously, for the recipient and both the recipient and the donor. So what we're doing here today, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who just joined us, is doing an interview for 4-year-old Issac Piasecki of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And we're here with his mother, Mindi, this morning. And hopefully we are going to motivate somebody today to, more than one person today, to come forward and test to become his living kidney donor hero. So we're learning more about Isaac's story. And we'll be right back after a short commercial to talk more with Mindi about Isaac and his need for a living kidney donor.
You'll do better at Garber. Garber's exclusive low price guarantee. No one else has it. It's Garber's promise to you to enjoy better prices and better payments. Not on just a few random vehicles, but every new car, truck, and SUV at every Garber dealership. And Garber's variety and selection is unmatched in the Great Lakes Bay region. Enjoy a better buying experience with Garber's exclusive low price guarantee. You'll do better at Garber. Garber, we make it better for you.
And thank you again for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. We're back with another episode of Driving for Life. We're here with Mindi Piasecki from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We're talking to her today about her 4-year-old son, Isaac, and his need for a living kidney donor. Mindi, you were just telling me about Isaac's other condition, which is Down syndrome. Can you talk a little bit about that?
He obviously we knew he had Down syndrome when we went to Dallas to adopt him. Between that and chronic lung disease, he's had a really hard time he's been intubated 3 times in the last 3 years. And in order to be intubated, you have to be sedated. The child has to be very sedated. Right. Because Down syndrome Down syndrome makes it really hard for sedation to work
Okay.
on any age of a child. It's just the way their body is set up.
Okay.
And he typically has 3 sedations going all at once.
Oh my.
And he has attempted to get up from bed being sedated, like enough sedation that I would have been knocked out.
Right.
But he fights it. He fights it every time. So now they extubated him 3 days ago. And he's still going through withdrawals from the medications. He's still getting some morphine pushes when he's got tremors right now from coming off of the medications. He's vomiting because of the medications. He's not doing wonderful. We were hoping he would be off the PICU floor by now, but
Right.
they're keeping him. So
Right. Well, that's why we're here today, because we want to talk about a situation and let our viewers know today how they can come forward and help Isaac from wherever they're watching from. I wanted to ask you, and I should have probably at the beginning of the interview, is Isaac also registered for a pair donation program with National Kidney Register or any organization?
he is not. I need to find out more information about that. We have we've attempted to get in touch with his adoption agency and his birth mom by chance to see if she might be able to be a donor, or her husband, but we've not heard back.
Okay. Okay.
I can't be tested because I'm a bladder cancer survivor.
Right.
And my kidneys work overtime. My husband is about to be tested, and but I'm not sure how it works. Whether a bio match would be better for him or not.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could tell you that. Obviously, that's going to be with your transplant center to find that out. But even what I wanted to get across to people watching, if he is put into, or is your hospital has a pair donation program available, if somebody's watching now, for example, that aren't in your area in Wisconsin, Milwaukee, for example, if you're in a pair donation program, so if somebody who's watching and they're motivated to test for Isaac, they can come forward and test at their nearest transplant center.
Yes, we are a member of that.
Okay.
And they will fly the donor in.
Right.
For the transplant. Yes.
Very good. Okay. So this is, I'll just touch a little more on it so people understand this. So if you're watching right now, so you want to test for Isaac and help Isaac, you would test, first of all, do your testing at your local center. And then upon approval, you would be brought in to donate to Isaac in Milwaukee through their pair donation program. And a person, so somebody knows too, a person's costs to become a donor are zero, because the person who is becoming the donor, their costs are covered by the recipient's insurance. So I want people to know that while we're watching Mindy and I talk right now, because you're thinking, if you're watching, well, maybe I'm not in Milwaukee, I'm nowhere near Wisconsin even, how can I possibly help Isaac? And this is how you can do that, through pair donation. And it's great to hear that your particular transplant center participates, because not every transplant center participates in the way yours does. That will actually facilitate the donation and get the person who's donating to Isaac. And that's correct then, right?
I met with the transplant team RN the last time Isaac was inpatient, and I said, I have quite a few friends who are offering to be tested for Isaac, but they don't live anywhere near us. And the RN said they would fly them in. They can test where they live and fly them in to donate.
That is just a beautiful thing, because like I say, more transplant centers need to be on that course, because we've had families that we've helped find donors for their children, and they have to move sometimes, to a different city to go through the actual transplant. And, those kind of things, obviously, a lot of times can prevent a transplant from happening. So the centers that do this are just wonderful. So for people that know that, we will have the information at the end. But do you know the information offhand? If somebody were to watch this today and want to contact your transplant center, do you have the basic information?
They would go to freightert.com/transplant.
Okay. And they would register for Issac Piasecki. And do they need his birth date? A lot of times we need to say this because they need to know the birth date to register.
His birth date is 1/28/21.
Very good. Okay. And again, ladies and gentlemen, we will put that in at the end of this episode. We'll be right back in just a moment with the last part of our episode today of Driving for Life.
Imagine a world where no child is waiting for a living kidney donor to save their life. Kidneys for Kids strives every day to make that a reality for every child in the United States. Imagine an organization that cares enough to drive thousands of miles in 2024 to continue our quest to help 100 or more children find their living kidney donor hero. Imagine an organization that will not stop advocating for children until every child has an equal chance to receive a kidney transplant, no matter their circumstance. That organization is Kidneys for Kids. Find us now at kidneysforkids.org.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Drive for Life. Again, I'm your host, Brian Martindale. Today, we are here with Mindi Piasecki from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We've been talking about her 4-year-old son, Issac, who's in need of a kidney transplant. Issac has been in kidney failure since birth. He's 4 years old now. And we've heard in the first couple parts of the interview, he's going through a very rough patch right now. He is hospitalized. And he will be tested here, finishing his testing soon, so he can be matched with a donor. So hopefully this is going to progress here. Obviously we don't know at the moment because of Isaac's condition. But the testing will be done when it's ready at the Milwaukee Children's Hospital. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. And the average test time, I know for somebody, if you're offering to test for Issac, if you do take the information and sign up to test, you'll go through probably over a couple months. You'll go through initial blood test, and then you'll go through a 1 to 2 day period of tests from stem to stern. So you'll know you're perfectly healthy before you are able to offer your kidney to save Isaac's life in this case. And if Issac and when Issac receives his kidney, what will that do for him?
Keep him alive.
Keep him alive to start with.
Our hope is that we can get the transplant done before he has to go on dialysis again. Right. He was on dialysis for 3 weeks when he was born in Dallas. They took the PD cath out when he was life flighted to Milwaukee, and he has not been on dialysis since.
Good. Good.
We are looking at, once he's home and healthy for a few weeks, we're looking at him having a G-tube put in so that he's ready for the transplant, ready for receiving feeds and medicines through the G-tube.
Right.
And they're also discussing putting in the PD cath just in case.
Okay.
At the same time. But I mean, we're very hopeful that we can keep his numbers at bay and we can find a donor. I also wanted to say, and this is what I've been telling a lot of people, if you're not a match for Issac, there are so many children, so many people looking for kidneys at this point. If you're not a match for Issac, you could totally save someone else's life.
Yeah, and thank you for saying that, because obviously Kidneys for Kids, we help children all over the country. And we have several other children directly we're helping right now who need kidney transplants. And so, if you for the ladies and gentlemen and people watching tonight, when this is broadcast, if you're not familiar, there are almost 100,000 people in the United States, including adults and children, who need a kidney transplant today. And we lose 13 of those people every day while they're waiting. So, and for Issac to get a kidney preemptively will obviously up his chances of accepting that kidney and keeping the kidney for a long period of time. That's why doctors fight for a preemptive kidney transplant. I like to say this because sometimes people will watch and say, well, Issac isn't to the point of dialysis yet, and he isn't that sick, but it's not true. he's already battling this life-threatening disease, and if we can catch it before he reaches dialysis, he has a much better chance of accepting the kidney and then keeping the kidney. So that's what we're driving here for today. Is there anything else you'd like to add, maybe, that we haven't talked about? Everything you've gone through, what your future hopes are for Isaac, anything like that?
My husband and I both have a goal for our kids to grow up happy and empathetic and nice people. I like to say to my kids, if they're being sassy, I'll look at them and say, I'm not raising mean kids. It's not happening. And for the most part, my kids are very accepting. I think mostly because we have such a rainbow family of different abilities.
Right.
Especially my 8-year-old son, who is neurotypical. He had a birthday party a few years ago, and there were children of every color. There were children who were blind, deaf, autistic. It's just we accept people as they are, and adopting different colors and different races and different abilities has been eye-opening for us. You're either accepting of our family, or we've had so many people not want to have anything to do with our family because of the different colors of skin, because of the disabilities.
Right.
And it's ridiculous because my kids are like the most adorable, sweet, sassy kids ever. But we have a good surrounding of nice people in our family.
Good core of people around you that support you.
Yeah.
Because it's always sad to hear about, stories when you're talking about your children and people not being accepting of just something that's different to them, or somebody that's different to them. Not, whether it's color of skin, whether it's a disability, or, any kind of affliction. People, they don't want to learn or take the time to learn or know about what's going on with the child or adult, and then be accepting of that, like we are supposed to be equally of everybody. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because we deal with children of every race, every color, going through every kind of medical condition and affliction to do with kidney disease you can imagine. And we all have to be accepting of people's disabilities, of differences in people. And you're just the best example of that. I just want to say thank you so much for what you do for your family, and being such a good example of kindness and equality and inclusion. And it's just a pleasure to have you on here today.
Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, again, as we end here, we're going to put the information on for Isaac. If you'd like to become his living kidney donor hero and test for to be his life-saving kidney donor, please use the information at the end of this show. Mindi, thank you so much for being with me today, with us at Drive for Life. Join us next week for another episode of Drive for Life. Thank you so much, and have a good evening.